Hi everyone. Today I'll be reading my compendium Anarcho-Communism versus Marxist Leninism, State Vampirism, specifically the Safe for Work version on my old blog. February 2nd, 2026. This blog post re-uploads the opener compendium to my essay series State Vampirism in a Safe for Work format, lacking outright pornographic nude images, only the tops of some butts and underwear. It remains otherwise identical to the not safe for work version on my 18+ website. My research activism into anti-capitalism concerns various essays I have written on Marxist Leninism, but also personalities, i.e., when critiquing Marxist Leninism alongside capitalism for its historically predatory qualities tied to state models, which ANCOMs reject, e.g., when preying vampirically on women, queer people, and sex workers, unpaid labor, similar to out-and-out capital. My theories concerning state vampirism, feeding, borrow directly from Marx's ideas of vampirism, using them to critique the likes of Lenin, Stalin, and Mao, but also the man himself, a noted anarcho-communist, for leading to such persons, i.e. by camping him and his followers in ways ML Apologia dogmatizes. For the sake of organization and time, I have divided these critiques into essays, i.e. in conjunction with my Sex Positivity book series after it concluded on June 2025. This subpage only contains essays. Click here to access all of said essays' promotional content. Likewise, these essays only concern state vampirism. I've written smaller essays on vampirism in my Undead module, and my entire submodule on vampires, Eat Me Alive. In regards to Marx and his own work, ideas on vampirism, capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor, and lives the more labor it sucks. Unquote. Source: Limits of the Working Day. Note, as I conceive it, state vampirism equals feeding through the state. Mid-objection, be it openly capitalist or Marxist-Leninist. These are largely questions of aesthetic. This Promethean, self-destructive function extends to other configurations of homeless, e.g. Zionism. Zionism is a settler colonial device whose ethnocentric divide-and-conquer models overlap with racism, Orientalism, and other modular tools of division and persecution, i.e. canonically arbitrating war as business for productivity and profit, all by utilizing Cartesian thought, heteronormativity, and settler colonialism tied to state monopolies of violence, terror, and monsters/sex, re. Weber, Asprey, and me, see the state its key tools from paratextual Gothic documents. To be effectively anti-Zionist, meaning in ways that actually challenge capital, the state's vampiric feeding mechanism, and poetics, unlike fascism, is to be anti-racist, anti-white supremacist, anti-war for business, etc., as intersecting modules, in a larger intersectional dualistic solution to an intersectional problem that likewise critiques Marxist-Leninism, sharing the same basic language and spaces of play. So does Gothic gay anarcho-communism and Ludo-Gothic BDSM, rape play, dialectically materially reclaim imbricating persecution language, e.g. black libel, sodomy, and witchcraft, doing so to reverse objection ergo state predation vampirism, which historically materially prey through said territories to further objection on stage and off. The state hates sex, but needs it to survive, policing it through various rapacious paradoxes brought from city-state slavery and ancient world imperialism. Furthermore, there is overlap between my anti-Zionist work and my work critiquing Marxist-Leninism alongside capital. So continue reading both. And regarding abjection, which state predation and revolutionary action both rely on to function, i.e. on the aegis, as something to further or reverse mid-vampirism through paid-unpaid labor. Re. Me vis-a-vis Julia Kristeva. To that, abjection, us versus them, alienation, and fetishization, as one of four main Gothic theories my book series utilizes, the other three being hauntology, retrofuture, cryptonomy, show, hide, and chronotopes, time-space, alongside smaller theories, e.g. Gerald Hogel's Goes to the Counterfeit, and Barbara Creed's Monstrous Feminine, Gorgons and Amazonomachia as I study it. As a queer sex worker and academic, I dialectically materially prioritize objection and vampirism through unpaid labor, chiefly sex work exploited by Cartesian dualism and its harmful maximalist binaries under capitalist realism, but mention the other theories too. Access 4 main Gothic theories, the 4 Gs, and paratextual Gothic documents for their longer definitions. In essence, capital, the state, rape by design, which unpaid labor prevents by breaking capitalist realism mid-objection, i.e. during Little Gothic BDSM, having the horror's revenge outlined below, but which state vampirism explores at length. For Marx and myself, capitalism alienates and sexualizes everything. Nature is monstrous feminine as such, empowerment applying to any aspect of our life, bodies, violence, and terror, the state wishes to monopolize/control, and any trope, convention, cliché, or fetish that might be used to degrade, humiliate, rape, or otherwise demonize, dominate beings of nature for capital's qualities, i.e. secular colonial, heteronormative, and Cartesian, i.e. that we can reclaim during Little Gothic BDSM. To do so is to break capital's hold on all things demon, darkness, and nature they stole and monopolized, in turn smashing their own objection against them, and breaking capitalist realism with our aegis, to deny capital's dead labor and language, feeding on living labor and language, according to what power and knowledge we exchange to and fro. The horror's revenge is to break the profit and productivity motive by making a world for which it and rape are no longer possible using these methods, i.e. by using the same demonic and slutty language capital does, but at cross purposes, to hug the alien, not demonize it to receive state violence, thereby exchanging how the world is seen to begin with. Unquote. Source: Rape Reprise. P.S. My work is influenced by a variety of thinkers, chief among them, as far as the territorial Cartesian nature of capital preying on nature as monstrous feminine, is Patel and Moore's pivotal work, A History of the World in 7 Chief Things. I strongly recommend you read it, at least the portions I cite. Postscript. This work has been ongoing since the rise of the anti-trans movement in the late 2010s. My book series concluded June 2025, but maintains small-form research, artwork, and essays like those shown here. As of January 2026, the exposure of capital and state predation have only peeled back any attempt at concealment, i.e. with the DOJ's infernal striptease of email correspondence had among Jeffrey Epstein and friends, e.g. Robert Trivers, one of the masterminds behind the anti-trans movement, one essentially planned by chaser billionaires to have more sex slaves, mainly trans women, below. Your laters are all child-grooming monster men, and yet somehow I'm the degenerate? Asks Eva Android on the Aegis, i.e. a trans sex worker anisotropically and apotropaically bouncing bad accusations back towards the elite mid-objection by using Medusa's mirror shield in reverse, our bodies normally dumping grounds for state abuse. When Perseus slew the Medusa, he did not, as commonly thought, put an end to her reign or destroy her terrifying powers. Show him your Aegis indeed. Use it to freeze the real pimps in place, the horrors of the universe and their ancient labor struggles, taking back what's theirs. In doing so, the body suddenly becomes armor and weaponry through paradoxical exposure, like the Amazon and the Gorgon, subverting their canonical function by enacting countercultural propaganda through public nudism, i.e. to some degree required by revolutionaries, yet happening behind various buffers showing and hiding this or that. Thereupon workers shield behind the canvas, the phone screen, the Polaroid, etc. as see-through and invisible. Therein, workers fight back, using what they got, sex workers using their bodies to raise awareness and motivate teamwork. First, sex work as revolutionary action, namely the prevention of rape through public nudism, advertising labor struggles, housing disputes, reports of sexual abuse, and so on. In times of monsters, horrors and monsters to reverse objection with, thus are what cops, those acting like cops, traitors including token traitors, to further objection, will police to varying degrees, scapegoating the horror as the initial and ultimate victim to blame for capital's woes. To that, class war is ass war on the Aegis, i.e. class war via sex work, with the intersections of culture and race, the horse revenge occurring by raising emotional Gothic intelligence and awareness to reduce rape on a societal level, re. intersectional consciousness during said revenge. Unquote. Source: The Wolf is Loose, honoring Renee Good and all victims by fighting back. intersectional consciousness being a neologism I coined, one meant to combat various forms of reductionism, class culture, and race, i.e. by building a Marxist notion of class consciousness, combining class with culture and race consciousness, awareness, to raise emotional Gothic intelligence while synthesizing praxis. Keeping creed in mind, and my past work on reversing abjection during Little Gothic BDSM, which state vampirism explores, I respond to Eva's skeet. Verily, the ruling class are the pedos and pimps they blame their victims of, under capital which rapes by design. Listen to trans people, sex workers, i.e. the people trawling through the Epstein files to tell the world what we already knew. Or as Tyler from the internet writes, as all this disgusting Epstein shit starts surfacing more and more, I hope we don't lose sight of the fact that apparently every major media outlet knew everything, and instead spent their time, money, and energy attacking the trans community. Many trans people are sex workers, but also victims of sex trafficking denied by mainstream media. Quote, one of the first survivors to step forward to try and stop Epstein, a trans woman who was promptly mocked and vilified by the New York Post, New York Magazine, the courts, and law enforcement. Unquote. Whatever atrocities come to light aren't strictly new, but date back to older imperial forms, i.e. East and West, capital and state models, 16th century ecology, demanding worker exploitation through profit and productivity alike. Quote, as Patel and Moore astutely point out, care work is historically unpaid, undervalued, and overexploited under capital and systems of different nominalities. I extend this to, or rather focus on, sex work as something to fight for while doing it. re my Hailing Hellions Q&A series, interviewing sex workers of different marginalities. Unquote. Source concerning Marxist Leninism versus Gothic gay Anarcho-Communism from Raising Awareness. Series Essays. Preface, Gothic gay Anarcho-Communism, or Synthesizing Emotional Gothic Intelligence Through a Sex-Positive Gothic Mode. Originally 2024, released blog style April 2nd, 2025. The preface to Volume 1 explains by and large what separates Gothic gay Anarcho-Communism from Marxist Leninism, but also it stresses the importance of killing our darlings, past heroes, in favor of a better world worker mindset towards universal liberation. Discusses a few things Gothic communism tends to avoid theory-wise. Gothic communism strongly dislikes pure, post-structuralist, psychoanalytical, e.g. Freud, Jung, and Lacan, and Marxist-Leninist models, though it employs many of their ideas in ANCOM ways. Not only do these models tend to be dated, vaguely abstracting, and sexist queerphobic, as Stalin and Freud both were above, but they are far more common in Gothic academia than I would like. Understanding Vampires, What is Problematic Love, or Positions of Relative Ignorance to Relative Clarity, featuring Bad Empanada and Marxist-Leninism. August 20th, 2024. A deeper dive into the struggle between not just total ignorance and knowledge, but warring schools of thought, i.e. Marxist-Leninism and Anarcho-Communism, and how vampirism manifests under ANCOM principles that often fall under fire when trying to escape the closet of state forces and outmoded forms of communism. Includes various subchapters on state vampirism tied to Marxist-Leninism and capital. Raising Awareness, regarding Bad Empanada and his fascist behaviors and Marxist-Leninism versus Anarcho-Communism, October 17, 2025. Raising Awareness concerns YouTuber Bad Empanada and his open bigotry towards trans people and other minorities. It began as an email to individual content creators on YouTube, but I figured I may as well share its dossier on my old blog and 18 and up website, a more secure means of archiving information than Google Docs. I've also updated and expanded on this post repeatedly from its email form, adding substantial portions from my own Gothic gay anarcho-communist corpus, my friends and I critiquing the Marxist-Leninist approach, specifically its sexist, queerphobic, and otherwise exclusionary, reactionary elements that Bad Empanada currently contributes to, i.e. by punching out at me, but also my friends, e.g. while worshipping massive creeps like Mao Zedong. Nancy Drew Syndrome, or the Curious Case of Rebecca Watson, November 20th, 2025. This article criticizes YouTuber and activist Rebecca Watson for being moderately transphobic, specifically due to what I call Nancy Drew Syndrome, or acting like a white progressive cop, therefore moderate, while furthering abjection, ergo state vampirism, versus trans people like me, but also other trans people and minorities harmed by the U.S. government. Sharing the blame, or the mild tokenism of FD signifier and foreign man in a foreign land when defending philosophy tube, re liberal Zionism and state vampirism. December 15, 2025. This two-part essay, Sharing the Blame, addresses FD signifier and foreign man in a foreign land's mild tokenism, i.e. as paid labor, non-care, non-sex workers, specifically they're defending philosophy tube, aka Abigail Thorne's liberal Zionism to a moderate degree, two straight black men defending a white trans woman, selling out mid-genocide, and her defending them. In doing so, both parties perform state vampirism, feeding, dressed up as progressive, as shared betrayal harming unpaid labor while refusing to share blame. Said essay is part of a larger defective series, one including Raising Awareness and Nancy Drew Syndrome, and all of which emphasize token progressives selling out in various ways, re. FD, Foreign Man, and Thorne, but also Natalie Wynn, aka ContraPoints, Bad Empanada, and Rebecca Watson. Concerning Venezuela and state vampirism, January 3, 2026. The short essay covers the U.S. invasion of Venezuela, enacting state predation. Concerning Venezuela examines the larger vampirism taking place, state vampirism and those who enable it, not just politicians, but also how to dialectically materially expose and challenge state power, feeding under capitalist realism, pimping nature workers, treated as of nature, under Cartesian thought, by holding each other accountable. The wolf is loose, honoring Renee Good and all victims by fighting back. January 8, 2026. ICE agents in Minneapolis murdered Renee Good yesterday, shooting her after asking her to leave the vicinity of an ongoing ICE raid. This essay fights back, exploring the fascist ramifications to honor Good. By revealing the state rot she exposed in death, while touching on historical and poetic examples side by side, as the Gothic does. In doing so, it focuses on state vampirism through a lycanthropic, werewolf, critical lens. Anarcho-Communism versus Marxist Leninism, a critique, or Charlytics, a queer Marxist turf and swerve, January 29, 2026. A video response to the YouTuber and queer Marxist Charlytics, who is a turf and a swerve punching down at a trans sex worker, academic activist, and her friends above. This video discusses. He's also a Bad Empanada fan, go figure. We scratch a swerve and a fascist bleeds. Update 2/1/2026. He blocked the video for defamation claims above. Nothing says, I am really smart and correct, like abusing YouTube censors to silence criticism. Imagine this kind of thin-skinned behavior in academia, blocking rival arguments on reactionary grounds while also playing the victim card, R.E. Darvo. Classic. In response, I've chosen to focus on something more positive, chiefly the very identity politics this person devalues, which I tie to class, culture, and race struggle across a polity of marginalized peoples, e.g. immigrants, emancipated slaves and their descendants, indigenous peoples, and various marginalities of class, culture, and race. Here's some information about me, if you're interested in supporting the work that I do. My name's Persephone van der Waard. I have my MA in Gothic English Literature and independent PhD in Gothic Poetics and Ludo-Gothic BDSM, focusing partially on Metroidvania, and I am the author of the multi-volume, non-profit book series Sex Positivity versus Sex Coercion or Gothic Communism. Its art director, sole invigilator, illustrator, and primary editor, the other co-writer, co-editor being May Ryan, a rape survivor, granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor and Dutch resistance member, and someone anti-war as a business, anti-Zionist and anti-racist, anti-white supremacist who specializes in tokenism, e.g. TERFs, swerves, and fascist feminism. I'm a male-to-female trans woman, Tolkien and Amazon enthusiast, anti-fascist, loud critic of Marxist Leninism, state vampirism, atheists, and Satanist, polypankingster with multiple partners, erotic artist, pornographer, and anarcho-communist, i.e. under my brand of Gothic gay anarcho-communism as a holistic, intersectional discipline, one devised in 2022-2023, and which my friends and I currently achieve together. You can financially support my blog through Ko-fi or Patreon. One is safe for work and the other not safe for work, but the money for either goes towards the same art and essays I produce, which often complement each other. Thank you for watching, and until my next video, stay safe out there, and look after each other.